Recording started.
Oh, for both of them?
I'm still sending the text out, so I'm gonna start the
Okay.
in a second. But I'm on the conference line, nobody's on there.
Okay. All right. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Julius Nyerere. This is volume 11, issue 11 of our Whirlwind newsletter. Today our topic is over Dr. Julius Nyerere, the person that our division is named after. Before we get started, let's start with the pledge to the red, black, and green.
I commit my body, mind, and spirit.
I commit my body, mind, and spirit
To the protection, defense,
to the protection, defense, and security
of the red, black, and green.
of the red, black,
and green.
I dedicate my life
I dedicate my life
to the redemption of Mother Africa
to the redemption of
Mother Africa
and the liberation of us scattered Black children.
and the liberation
of our scattered Black children.
I accept for myself and my descendants
I accept for
for myself and my descendants
the universal African nationalism
the teachings of universal
African nationalism
and promise that our children will be instilled
and promise
that our children will be instilled
with the knowledge of themselves and African
with the perfect knowledge of themselves
as African people,
in order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail.
in order that
our struggle will neither falter nor fail
Until all Black people are free and united
into all
Black people are free and united
through one God,
through one God,
one aim,
one aim,
one destiny.
one destiny.
Praise first.
Race first.
Race first.
I just realized I didn't do the date and time, so it is April 24th, 2022, and it is 5:20 Eastern Standard Time. So I just wanted to say that. Let me go by guidelines for the call. The meeting is divided into two halves. Today we're doing our first half, Dr. Julius Nyerere, and then I open up the floor for questions. And then right after that, President John is going to give us a summary over the High Executive Council from this past week. And if there's anyone who went after President John gives his summary, would like to have any input what happened, then you can speak. But President John says that he do want to leave out specific details. So I guess listen to how President John gives the information and just try not to give too much, and we'll discuss it on the executive call with executive members. Be considerate of the time. Try not to go over 4 or 5 minutes. To ensure we can hear our speakers, please keep your phone on mute when you're not speaking. Have pen and paper available to write notes or take member contact information. There will be people on this call with different ideas and religions and opinions than your own. It's okay to disagree, but let's not be disrespectful towards one another. Ladies, do not give out your personal number. Give out the business number, email address, website, social media, something like that. And refrain from using the N-word and overusage of curse words. We have elders and children that tune in. So I'm gonna pass it to President John to do the roll call.
Thank you, First Lady, Vice President, and excellent job on the explanation on the summary for High Executive Council. The thing is, per our Constitution, we're not supposed to share sensitive information with individuals that are not members. So if we were all active members, then there wouldn't be any issue, and I could share all the information. But since we're not all active members, there'll be some stuff like financial details that I won't share. Another thing I wanted to add, moving forward, I always feel like this time of the year, April, the end of April, is almost like New Year's for our division. It's just a personal feeling. It's nothing that I've been told or anything like that. But since our division number is 421, I've always felt like that time of year, April 20th, 21st, is almost a renewal or opportunity for renewal for the division. But I'm saying that to say, one thing that we've talked about in the past is officer reports. But basically, moving forward, I want to have 3 separate sections to our UNIA meetings. First section will be the mass meeting information. I'd like to also relay that to orientation. So tonight we're going over Dr. Julius Nyerere. Sometimes we talk about Amy Ashwood Garvey, Amy Jocks Garvey. We talked about Dr. Tony Martin. We go over the responsibilities of officers. I'd like to consider that as orientation, because that's part of our training, not even as officers, but just as members, to be aware of certain information as we develop while we're in the organization. So I want to keep that. In the second half, where I've been trying to bring in officer reports, I kind of want to make that a working meeting for the government, for our local jurisdiction. So myself as president offer a report, lady president and other officers to allow our members to see what it is that we're doing, establish a connection, and also help them understand what the responsibilities of our offices are and where we need help and assistance. So that would be the second section. And then the third section would be, as it already is, member share. So that's just something I wanted to share with y'all. We'll try it tonight, and I expect to be doing that moving forward. As far as the roll call, before I go into the roll call, I did want to share another addition to our UNIA mass meetings. Part of our introduction will be to share our preamble, just to give everybody a grounding of who we are, in a brief summary, who we are, what we're about, and why we're here. So preamble to the UNIA-ACL Constitution states, the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world, and the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man, but with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of men shall be called blessed. That is our Constitution. We should memorize it, especially officers. We should memorize that to gain support for the organization as well as defend the organization when needed. Now, still don't have anybody on the conference line. So, so for roll call, I'll go over. Let me. It's gonna be a slight, some adjustments, but so on the call we have. Wait, let me get my list right. On the call we have myself, Brother John, President. We have our First Lady Vice President, Sister Tania, First Vice President, Brother Macias, Legal Defense Committee Coordinator, Attorney Imhotep, Dr. Shams out of New York, and Brother Art out of Virginia, and it makes 6 on the call. That makes 6 that I see. In addition to that, hold on. Greetings. It's Mama Mina, or who's this? Greetings, Sister Mary. Give me 1 second. I'll join the conference line with the Zoom in 1 moment. All right, so Sister Mary just joined, so that's 7. But I've been studying and I'm going to share this with our officers, but I've been studying kind of parliamentary practices and how these type of meetings are ran. And one of the ones that I'm studying as of recently, and I'll share it with our executives, is the Atlanta City Council. They have a YouTube page and they have meetings on a regular, and they have a format that's similar to how we conduct high executive council. But with that, I wanted to do a roll call of our officers. I know that a lot of them aren't here, but just for the sake of practice. So Brother John, present. Mama Mina, Lady President, absent. Treasurer, President Ross Marvin, not here. First Vice President, Brother Macias. Brother Macias. I know he's there. Okay, he's not speaking. All right.
Sorry, trying to unmute.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm here.
Thank you. Second Vice President, Brother Dr. Kwabena is not here. Third Vice President, Brother Cornelius is not here. First Lady Vice President, Sister Tania is present. Second and third Lady Vice President are open positions. Executive Secretary is also an open position. I guess I can share what I'm reading from. But it will be kind of standard practice moving forward to do a roll call so that we know who's here, who's doing what. Membership coordinator open. Attorney Imhotep present. Yes, he's here.
Yes, present.
Thank you, Attorney Imhotep. Community outreach coordinator, Brother Ken Wardo, absent. Promotions coordinator, Brother James, absent. UNIA-ACL Constitution coordinator, also Brother James, absent. And other positions are open, waiting to be filled. So from a executive standpoint, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 of our executives present with us today. So that is our roll call for today, Sister Tania. I gotta join the conference line. Sister Tania, I was passing the mic back to you.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me go to the reading. I may skip over some of it. It's just a lot. Okay, Dr. Julius, Nyerere is the top. Wait a minute, let me go because I forgot I didn't read Marcus Garvey quote for today. His quote for today is, "All of us may not live to see the higher accomplishments of an African empire so strong and powerful as to compel the respect of mankind, but we in our lifetime can so work and act as to make the dream a possibility within another generation." And that's our Garvey quote for today. And then our topic is Dr. Julius Nyerere. Julius Cambridge Nyerere was born April 13, 1922. He passed away October 14, 1999. He was president of Tanzania, previously known as Tanganyika, from the country's founding in 1964 until his retirement in 1985. He was born in Tanganyika to a local Zanaki chief called Nyerere Bruto. Julius Nyerere was known by the Swahili name Mawalumi Lumo, or a teacher, because of his profession before becoming active in politics. Nyerere was the first African head of state to retire voluntarily. He stepped down because he realized that his socialist policies of communal ownership of farms and state ownership of services were not working. Under his presidency, Tanzania slipped from being the largest exporter of food in Africa to the biggest importer of food. However, he made no attempt to cling to power or to influence his successors who restored capitalism. Nyerere had wanted to make Tanzania self-reliant, free from indebtedness to former colonial powers or to the West. Like other leaders of former colonies, he saw colonialism and capitalism as responsible for the subjugation of their people. A devout Catholic, Nyerere often fasted and did not enrich himself at his nation's expense. He preferred to dress a Masonic contrast with the flamboyant uniforms worn by some of his contemporary heads of African states. While his policies may have proved disastrous for his country, few question his sincerity. Tanzania remains one of the poorest countries in the world, but its economy has grown since Nyerere's retirement, reaching 6% during 2006. While his economic policies are acknowledged as having failed, other policies succeeded. For example, under Nyerere, literacy and healthcare surpassed anything most African countries had achieved. Thus, his legacy has been described as rich and varied, and his intentions as always noble. He also battled the international monetary fraud over the issue of third world debt and created a genuine national entity out of a hot pot of some 120 ethnic groups, which some consider to be his most enduring achievement. Even after the failure of his socialist experiment, he retained, says a Guardian obituary, his worldwide moral authority. Okay, education. Nyerere began attending government primary school in Mozambique at the age of 12, where he completed the 4-year program in 3 years and went on to Tabaro Boys Government Secondary School. He received a scholarship to attend Makerere University. And at that time, it was the only territory education institute in East Africa, where he obtained a teaching diploma. He returned to Tanganyika and worked for 3 years at St. Mary's Secondary School in Tabaro, where he taught biology and English. And in 1949, he got a scholarship to attend the University of Edinburgh. He was the first Tanzanian to study at a British university and only the second to gain a university degree outside of Africa, where he obtained his Master's of Art degree on the economics and history in 1952. In Edinburgh, partly through his encounter with Fabian thinking, Nyerere began to develop his particular vision of connecting socialism with African communal living. Okay, next is His political career. Okay, where I just passed it. Okay. On his return to Tanganyika, Nyerere took a position of teaching history English in Kiswahili. What's that? Swahili. It look like Swahili, but it got a K-I-S. At St. Francis College near Dar es Salaam. It is at St. Francis College that he founded TANU. His political activities attracted the attention of the colonial authorities. He was forced to make a choice between his political activities and teachings. He was reported as saying that he was a schoolmaster by choice and a politician by accident. He resigned and continued his work on his goal to bring a number of different nationalist factions into one grouping, which was achieved in 1954. Nyerere traveled throughout the country, speaking to common people. Tribal chiefs tried to garner support for the movement towards independence. He also spoke on behalf of the TANU to the Trusteeship Council and Fourth Committee of the United Nations in New York. His oratorial skills and integrity helped Nyerere achieve TANU's goal for an independent country without war or bloodshed. The cooperative British governor, Sir Richard Turnbull, was also a factor in the struggle for independence. Nyerere entered the Colonial Legislative Council in 1958 and was elected chief minister in 1960. In 1961, Tanganyika was granted self-governance, and Nyerere became his first prime minister on December 9th, 1961. A year later, Nyerere was elected president of Tanganyika when it became a republic. Nyerere was instrumental in the union between the islands of Zanzibar and the mainland Tanganyika to form Tanzania. After a 1964 coup and Zanzibar toppled, Jamshid bin Abdul, who was the Sultan of Zanzibar. Okay, he held a lot of governmental positions. In 1954, he was a founding member of the TANU. In 1958 through 1960, he was a member of the Legislative Assembly in the first elections in which Africans were allowed to vote. In 1958, he was the leader of the opposition in the parliament. In 1960, he was the chief minister of the first internal self-government administration. In 1961, he was the prime minister of the first government of independent Tanganyika. In 1962, he was elected president of Tanganyika. Oh, I'm sorry, I just read that. In 1963 and 1970, chancellor of the University of East Africa. In 1964 and through 1985, he was the president of the United Republic of Tanzania. And in 1970 to 1985, he was the chancellor of the University of Dar es Salaam. In 1977 to 1990, he was the chairman of Chia Mapinduzi, which was formed by a merger between the TANU and the Afro-Shazar Party of Zanzibar. CCM was born in Zanzibar on February 5th, 1977. And from 1984 to 1985, he was the chancellor of Sokoine University of Agriculture. In 1985, he retired from presidency. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's a lot. Can somebody else read? Or we could stop right here. I think that's good. That was a good read. I could stop there and
I can read.
oh, okay. Well, thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Okay, economic policies. When in power, Nyerere implemented a socialist economic program announced in the Arusha Declaration, establishing close ties with the China, and also introduced a policy of collective civilization in the country's agricultural system, known as Ujamaa, or familyhood. Nyerere believed that people truly become persons within community standing with the family, then moving into an extended family, and from there into a wider community, small scale village industry similar to MK Gandhi's model was ideal for Africa. It was ideal for Africa. Influenced by the Mahatma, Nyerere was awarded the Gandhi Peace Prize in 1995. Personhood leads to service to the community. Wealth would thus spread horizontally, not vertically. Although some of his policies can be characterized as socialist, many regard that Nyerere was first and foremost an African, and secondly, a socialist. He was what is often called an African socialist. Nyerere had tremendous faith in rural African people and their traditional values and ways of life. He believed that life should be structured around the Ujamaa, or extended family found in traditional Africa. He believed that in these traditional villages, the state of Ujamaa had existed before the arrival of imperialists. All that needed to be done was to return this to this state, and capitalism would be forgotten. He believed that this would be a true repudiation of capitalism, since his society would not rely on capitalism for its existence. This Ujamaa system failed to boost agricultural output, and by 1976, the end of the Forced Collective Civilization Program, Tanzania went from the largest exporter of agricultural products in Africa to the largest importer of agricultural products in Africa. With the realization that the Tanzanian economy did not flourish, and being unwilling to lead Tanzania using an economic model he did not believe in, Nyerere willingly announced that he would retire after presidential elections in 1985, leaving the country to enter its free market era under the leadership of Ali Hassan Mwinyi. Nyerere was instrumental in putting both Al Hassan Mwinyi and Benjamin Mkapa in power. He remained the chairman of Chama cha Mapinduzi ruling party for 5 years following his presidency until 1990, and is still recognized as the father of the nation. However, he did not interfere in its successor's policies, which reversed many of his own. Foreign policy. Nyerere was one of the African leaders during the Pan-African movement that swept the continent in the 1960s. He was a larger-than-life person, a seemingly incorruptible individual, and a committed Pan-Africanist. Nyerere was also one of the founders of the Organization of African Unity in 1963. Nyerere provided a home for a number of African liberation movements, including the African National Congress, ANC, and the Pan-African Congress, PAC, of South Africa. Frelimo, when it sought to overthrow Portuguese rule in Mozambique, and Zanla and Robert Mugabe in its struggle to unseat the white regime in southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. From the mid-1970s, along with President Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia, he was an instigator and leader of the frontline states, which provided uncompromising support for the campaign for Black majority rule in South Africa. In 1979, he led Tanzania into war against Uganda, then under the dictatorship of Idi Amin, resulting in the defeat of Uganda and exile of Amin. However, Nyerere also instigated the 1977 coup d'etat that ousted the first president of the Seychelles, James Manchin, and replaced him with socialist France Albert Rena, a move regarded to have set back development in the Seychelles for many years. Nyerere's foreign policy overall emphasized neutrality in the Cold War, and under his leadership, Tanzania employed friendly relations with both the West and the East. Outside of Africa, Nyerere was a model to Walter Linney, Prime Minister of Vanuatu, whose theories of Melanesian socialism owed much to the ideas he found in Tanzania, which he visited. Lectures inspired by Nyerere also taught at the University of Papua New Guinea in the 1980s, helping educate Melanesians familiarize themselves with his ideas. After the presidency, Nyerere remained the chairman of CCM until 1990, when Ali Hassan Mwinyi took over. Nyerere remained vocal about the extent of corruption and corrupt officials during the Ali Hassan Mwinyi administration. He also blocked Jakaya Kikwite's nomination for the presidency, citing that he was too young to run the country. Nyerere was instrumental in getting Benjamin Mkapa elected. Mkapa had been Minister of Foreign Affairs for a time during Nyerere's administration. In one of his famous speeches during the CCM General Assembly, Nyerere said in Swahili, "Niyatanga tuka," meaning that he was pulling out of politics for good. He moved back to his childhood home village in the Butiama in Western Tanzania. During his retirement, he continued to travel the world, meeting various heads of government as an advocate for poor countries and especially the South Center institution. Nyerere traveled more widely after retiring than he did when he was president of Tanzania. One of his last high-profile action was as chief mediator in the Burundi conflict in 1996. He died in a London hospital of leukemia on October 14, 1999. Positions held after presidency. From 1985 to 1990, chairman of Chama cha Mapinduzi. From 1987 to 1990, chairman of the Independent International South Commission. From 1990 to 1999, chairman South Center, Geneva and Dar es Salaam offices. Legacy, Beautification Inquiry. In January 2005, the Catholic Diocese of Musoma opened a cause for the beatification of Julius Nyerere. Nyerere was a devoted Catholic who attended Mass daily throughout his public life and was known for fasting frequently. As African leader, the African Union, formerly the Organization of African Unity, which Nyerere was largely responsible for establishing, is increasingly taking on an important role in stabilizing the region in peacekeeping and peace building in collaboration with the United Nations. Nyerere's example of voluntary retirement from power has set a standard that few African heads of states have yet met. His strong opposition to Idi Amin's dictatorial regime in Uganda and his 1979 invasion in retaliation for Amin's 1978 incursion into Tanzania toppled the dictator to popular acclaim, setting an example of Africa policing Africa. In retirement, he continued to work for African unity and also to resolve conflicts, including the civil war in Burundi, and to find ways of lessening the rich-poor gap between the developed and developing nations of the world. Chairing the South Commission, despite the failure of his economic policies, he remained convinced that socialism was the right direction for poor countries. His modest lifestyle added to his moral authority. He was untainted by scandal or by charges of corruption. Family was central to his concerns. He married Maria Magigi in 1953. They had 5 sons and 2 daughters. In addition to political writings, he translated 2 Shakespearean plays into Swahili. Awards: Nyerere Award for International Understanding, 1976. Third World Prize, 1982. Nassim Medal for Outstanding Service to Refugees, 1983. Lenin Peace Prize, 1987. International Simon Bolivar Prize, 1992. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you, Attorney Imhotep. Yes.
Thank you for helping.
So Tania, did you want to say anything before we open the floor for responses to the reading?
No, I don't.
Let me pull that back up. Thank you, Sister Tania, and thank you, Attorney Imhotep, for tonight's reading, volunteering. So I'll be very brief. I don't have much to say. As we all should know, we are the Dr. Julius Nyerere CBPM division here in Atlanta, Division 421. It is custom that each division is named after 2 ancestors. We were lucky to be able to incorporate an organization, the CBPM, into our name, but the ancestor that we selected was Dr. Julius Nyerere. And it's interesting that this is the topic, because I was just asked about this in Philadelphia. You know, I gave a presentation on the division, and we got to the section on Julius Nyerere, and I wish we had done this, a couple weeks ago, but things work out perfectly because I couldn't really give a good explanation of Dr. Julius Nyerere other than him being the first democratically elected president of Tanzania coming out of British colonialism. However, as you know, part of our development is studying and learning and learning about our ancestors. So Dr. Julius Nyerere, President of Tanzania, is one of our esteemed ancestors, that we try to honor the legacy of. So just wanted to remind everyone, that this is the man in which our division is named after. So we should know the history of him and his contributions to African people. But that's all I had. Anyone wanted to comment on the reading for tonight, Dr. Julius Nyerere?
Yes, I wanted to give a brief input if I can here. It's important to realize in this brief chronology of a history of Dr. President Julius Nyerere talks about the formation of the Organization of African Unity in 1963. And what's important is there were two factions at the time proposing a philosophy of what should be the nature and the emphasis and the makeup of the OAU. And the two factions were, one, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana and the Western African faction. They said Morocco was one faction, and there were some other countries that had the philosophy that Africa should be one nation, dissolve the borders. The borders, all these different borders of Africa were formalized at the Berlin Conference that ended in 1885, which was basically the divide and conquer. They colonialized, split up, each country took a portion, divided, cut it up so that they wouldn't be fighting amongst themselves. They made borders not for ethnic African people's benefit and historic foundations. They did it for the European capitalists to steal, rob, kill, and divide up for their own selfish profit and good. And now Kwame Nkrumah and this first thinking was, let's make one whole Africa. Let's get rid of these European Berlin Conference the borders and divisions. And the other competing interests, unfortunately, was, they say, headed by Julius Nyerere. And there were some other countries, there with this philosophy of basically let's take this thing slow, and let's keep this, the borders, as they are, and okay, yeah, let's go on a little slower pace, and in my humble opinion, it looks like Kwame Nkrumah and his connection with the Garvey thinking, African philosophy, with the Ghana's flag being that has the black star in the middle, there was the way to go. But basically, that philosophy should have been, we would have been a long way along the road to our redemption, African redemption. And instead, the OAU adopted this slower, let's take this thing slow approach here. And we're still in that same slow approach regimen here and facing all the obstacles that we're still suffering from. And it just looks like, in all honesty, in my humble opinion, the way to go should have been in Nkrumah's philosophy of making just one Africa. See, he knew competing against these big European country powers, and then all these African countries, how many are there? 50, or more African individual countries competing, fighting individually against these European colonialist mega powers or whatever. And one other note in closing, the island of Zanzibar, which is off the coast of Tanzania, that was the island that the Arab slave traders, captive prisoners of war, held captive Africans before shipping them across the Indian Ocean to the Asian Islamic countries out east. So that's all of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Imhotep. A lot of good information that you shared with us. I had no idea about the two factions, I guess, because usually when I hear about the OAU, Nkrumah always comes up. But thank you for that information, as well as the information in regards to Zanzibar. Any other questions or comments in regards to subject for tonight, Dr. Julius Nyerere, President Julius Nyerere? If we don't have any comments, we'll move to our next section. Last call, comments. Dr. Julius Nyerere. Give me 1 second. And I saw that we had a couple officers join our treasurer, President Ross Marvin, and Assistant Treasurer Andrew joined during the readings. Thank you, brothers, for joining. Trying to pull up 1 second. So, as I said in the beginning, moving forward with the Division 421 meetings, we'll try to have 3 distinct sections. First section, as we just completed, will be orientation study on our ancestors or officers within, not officers, responsibilities and officer titles and things like that. But first half will continue as it's always been. We're introducing this second part where I want to be able to have some formal proceedings, for the people in our jurisdiction. And the first thing that I'll share is, so from my section, we just completed High Executive Council last week. As you all know, but as we all should know, it was at April 14th through 17th, I believe. Yeah, April 14th we started. First thing, hope everyone got a link to the 72-hour fundathon that was hosted by Division 121, Philadelphia. Yeah, the High Executive Council this year was held in Philadelphia. A 72-hour fundathon. Hope everyone got the link, was able to support that. That's very important. Our fundraisers are very important, not only local, but parent body, high executive level fundraisers are also important. I want to do a quick summary of High Executive Council. Try to be brief. There's a lot of good information, and if there's any questions when I finish, let me know, and I'll share that with you. So we started Thursday. We didn't start till about, it don't matter what time we started. We started late, and it was, the ceremony was officially opened by our first Assistant President General, Raymond Duguay. President General Michael Duncan was not able to attend. He's in Liberia working on Liberty Farms. We did speak with him, and we got some notes from President General, but this High Executive Council was mainly, it was led by First Assistant President General Raymond Duguay. His first comment, or the things that he's focused on, is the things that we should all be focused on. Number one is membership, increasing our membership in all divisions, and two, restoration of the international headquarters. But in regards to membership, just encourage everyone to continue to pay your dues. It's $3 a month. It helps the local division a lot, but that's how we do a lot of our programs, Marcus Garvey Day, Ancestors Day, and that's how we support the parent body. So definitely encourage everyone to stay active and continue to pay your dues. And as I said, number two, restoration of the international headquarters. So that's why we were there in Philadelphia. That is our international headquarters. Our first Vice President, Berto Macias, he was declared the official photographer. So he's got some pictures. I'm not sure if he's prepared to share the pictures today, but we do have some pictures of the international headquarters that we can share with brothers and sisters. But this is the only building that we own amongst the organization, so all hands on deck, and we're doing everything that we can in all divisions to make sure we maintain this building. So those are the two big priorities, and these are two priorities that we definitely agree with at 421. Let's see what else. I'm going to get into that. Also, we'll have an important executive meeting in May. So first Saturday in May is May 7th. May 7th, I'll be able to give a little bit more details as far as the numbers for the loans. We're not taking out any loans or anything like that, but how much money is needed to restore the buildings, how much money we have in the accounts. I'll go over that information in the executive meeting. But one thing I can say is the first Assistant President General said that we have more money in the account now than he's ever seen since he's been in the position of High Chancellor. So we're doing well financially, but we can always do better. So definitely encourage everybody to continue to pay your dues. In regards to Liberty Farm, we're working on building our relationship in Liberia. A couple things that First Assistant President General said. He said we have to focus on racial uplift, self-reliance, and nationhood. These are the fundamentals that build the philosophy of race first. Racial uplift, self-reliance, and nationhood should be our focus in regards to race first, which I agree with. Then we heard from President General was able to call in at Liberty Farm, focus on agriculture. So he's saying, you know, how important agriculture is. He also said that we should have farms in every city. So here in Atlanta, that's something that we should definitely be working on, having our own farm. I know that we have worked with different groups that have farms, but if we could continue that and establish something for ourselves, that would be a good focus. One second. President General said, he mentioned the comment, next generation is not equipped. So he's talking about the youth and the level of education that the youth is receiving, the distractions of social media. But he just felt that the next generation, as of right now, is not equipped for the responsibilities of nationhood. So that's our job to equip them with that information and that knowledge. He said we have to triple our efforts. Our people are looking for leadership. We have to provide that leadership. Talk about financial sacrifice of leaders, travel and lodging, you know, doing high executive council, things like that, going to Africa. He mentioned the OAU as well, ironically, because our second President General, James R. Stewart, helped. There's some information that James R. Stewart helped guide the OAU. There's a school in the graveyard. Well, his grave is in Liberia, and there's a school dedicated to James R. Stewart there in Liberia as well. Accomplish what we are set here for. We all have a purpose. We must find our purpose, double, triple, quadruple our efforts. Talked about a factory to make coconut oil and to produce cassava on the Liberty farms, but basically just increasing productivity and production on the farm, which is a good thing. Then he closed with a couple comments. Said, from Garvey, economics is the order of the day. Whoever controls the economy of the nation controls the nation. How UNIA at one time is recognized by over 40 countries. We have to get back to that. And ended with a quote from Garvey: "What man has done, man can do." So we've done it before. Garvey did it before. He laid out the plan. So if he did it, we can definitely do it as well. And then we got into High Executive Council itself. So that was like the official opening. We got in the High Executive Council itself. One thing I want to mention, I got to give big credit to Division 401. That's their division out of Chicago, but they got there a little bit late. But when they got there, they came with a ladder and they started working on the building. There was a ceiling issue that we had been talking about for about 2 months. You know, just going back and forth on committee calls, on, you know, how much it's going to cost to get it done, how long it's going to take, and all that stuff. And we, you know, Philadelphia was supposed to be getting it done and getting it taken care of, but supposedly the person that committed to it backed out. But anyway, just want to give a shout out to Division 401 because they don't, you know, they just come to work. So they came in and fixed the ceiling. You know, so all of that discussion that we had been doing is, if we have people that are willing to step up and take care of things, it resolves a lot of the issues. So I got to give them credit for that. Then they talked about our financial reports. That's where we talked about some of the expenses of the building, how much we've paid to maintain the building, legal fees and things like that, property taxes. Then we got into the parent body account and the African Redemption Fund account. And as I said, I'll give details at the executive meeting, but overall, we're doing better than we have ever done per the High Chancellor. There was a comment made, I didn't write down who made it, but it was saying like, and this is not to be disrespectful to our African brothers and sisters, but it was about us being more African than the Africans on the continent. But it's just from an aspect of collective health and you know, as Attorney Imhotep alluded to, the idea of united Africa. Some of us here in America feel stronger about that than the Africans on the continent. So I think that's where that was coming from. It's not to be disrespectful, but just to acknowledge, you know, where we are, and echoes what President General said about the next generation not being equipped. The philosophy of Pan-Africanism, of universal African nationalism, African sovereignty, it's not, you know, sometimes we believe in that more than our brothers and sisters on the continent. That's basically what they were saying, and we have to continue to promote that philosophy. Then we had a report from our fourth President General. I kind of want to touch on that just a little bit, but our fourth President General is Brother Quahir. He's focused on, I guess I can. So we heard from our fourth Assistant President General, Brother Quahir, and he is focused on African Legion and Black Cross nurses. In regards to the Black Cross nurses, he said, you know, Sister Yasmin out of New York is going to be leading the Black Cross nurse development from parent body level. So those of us interested in that information and orientations and things like that, but we'll pull that from Sister Yasmin in New York and Fourth Assistant President General. Talked about doing training on chest compressions and teaching CPR from Black Cross nurse standpoint. And then Fourth Assistant President General went into the African Legion and his plans to develop the African Legion, but it would be through the presidents of the local divisions. So we'll have more information about that as it comes out, but that is something that we will need to be discussing, not necessarily having a active legion running around, but at least having brothers and sisters, brothers, as per the Constitution, only men can be in the legion. I think women can be a part of the African Motor Corps, which is the auxiliary. But we need to discuss that amongst the men, the able-bodied, capable men, of some type of, you know, just capable, able-bodied men. One thing, on that, and the reason why that came to my mind, or why I think that's important for us as Division 421, as I've traveled around to the other divisions, Chicago, now Philadelphia, New York, they all promote, you know, the legions and defense and things like that. But we are one of the only divisions that is in a state that has open carry gun laws. You know, so from a training standpoint, I think we would be a lot more prepared for those type of things, as opposed to states that don't have those privileges, basically. But I think that's something for us to consider, something for us to look into, at least be discussing and be aware of if the Fourth Assistant President General asks us about it. Then we had a report from, let's see, talked about, somebody mentioned, and I think it's still like it was, but somebody mentioned the population, 45 million African Americans, how we produce $1.3 trillion in the economy, And then if you compare that to Russia, who has 140 million people, and they only produce 1.2 trillion. So, you know, we have a small number, but we are effective, and we do have a large economy within Black Americans. Secretary General report, she talked about working to train our divisions on division reports. So our secretaries, we should be aware of that training and the monthly secretary meetings that take place on the second Wednesday of every month. So those were 2 things from the Secretary General. Office of Labor and Industry talked about selling food and clothing, succession plan for business, building the African Redemption Fund, talked about logistics, being able to move products, committees to evaluate businesses for the UNIA parent body, cooperative economics, and but more, yeah. That was a report from Office of Labor and Industry. President General report, convention in Detroit, focus on the convention in Detroit in August, working to make each division bigger and stronger, looking at the economic structure of each division. The world is relying on us, depending on us. That's Africans in America. Africans globally are waiting on us. We have to make the Black race respected. We have to make the Black race respected again. Self-reliance and race first is how we end it. Not going to get into each of these division reports. For our report for Division 421, kind of went through a monthly, you know, what we did for each month since convention, our Ancestors Day, Kwanzaa. We tried to do the fundraiser in February, and the study groups that we have been doing. That's kind of what I shared. Let's see. The following day, yeah, so that we ended with division reports. The following day, we opened up. We heard from President General again. He mentioned another Garvey quote: "Chance has never satisfied the hopes of a suffering race." When everyone can do something, no one can do everything. He mentions that a lot, but we all just have to do our small part, so that way no 1 or 2 individuals have to do a lot. Before we make a withdrawal, we must make a deposit. So before we can ask anything of the organization or of the government, we should be depositing. That's kind of what he was saying with that. And then at 1 o'clock, we did a tour of the international headquarters. Got to walk around and see. It's a magnificent building. It's full of potential, but it's a lot of work. So hopefully we'll have some pictures on that soon. But this is the only building we have, and I mean it's a great building. So if I could only have one building, this would be the one to have. So let me see. I think that's all I've got. They talked about printing the updated Constitution. So our Constitution was updated and ratified August of last year, but parent body is supposed to be providing us with the new constitutions, and they had an issue with printing, but those will be coming soon. We'll have an 8x11 size and a 6x3 pocket size. UNIA website, we talked about that briefly. I don't get into that too much, but you can go to our UNIA website, www.unia-acl, unia-aclgovernment.com. And then on the last day, we ended with a cleanup. Yeah, last day we ended with a cleanup. We picked up 100 Garvey Voice magazines. So we're selling them. I mean, they're listed at $3, so we would need at least $3. I'll probably be selling them for like, $3 plus fundraiser on the streets. So like $5, $10 if they got it. But in order for us to make our funds back, we need at least $3. We got 100 of those. We'll be moving those very soon. And I think the only, well, I guess at this point, are there any questions or comments in regards to our executive council report? Before I say anything else. No questions, comments? Okay. All right. Well, last thing on the High Executive Council, as far as I don't know if I have any questions, comments, but it was agreed upon for next year. High Executive Council will be here in Atlanta, so I'm gonna need some help kind of putting that together. But yeah, all the divisions will be convening in Atlanta, probably either March or April next year. So that's all I got. Any questions or comments? Oh, well, let me go to Macias, our first vice president, to add any comments on his thoughts on High Executive Council.
Greetings, family. Definitely, President John, thank you so much for that detailed report and all you do. And for coming up, me and President John was there on High Executive Council. One of the highlights for me was the cleanup, and I know he touched on it a little bit, but the international headquarters, the building, of course, a lot of the stuff that was in the building was there for years and years. The first floor is operative right now, and the building is just huge. Has 2 sub basements to it. Has a whole living quarters. The 25th floor is in the basement, and the 3rd floor is just a massive space to have mass meetings at. So the building is huge, and the focus of having a building, just like they have the White House, we gotta have the Black House. We gotta have a central foundation where we have ownership, in this land, because we have to have assets to build upon, and that's what the building is about. Being able to create what we can from it, so they could be a model. As we were cleaning the building out, it immediately made me think about how important it is for us as a division to have our own building as well, a place that we can come together, because having that space to come together is a great way to increase membership, and period. But with the first floor being operative, it has a basement, and there are some events that's going on currently in Philadelphia, which has increased the membership some, but in the basement, we cleaned the basement out, and we was able to see different. We had one team separating the artifacts out from all these years of work that had been put into the building, and the rest of us was just throwing it away. We did find some things that were classic things to be able to save and put into the museum that showed the history of the time and the works that had been put into the building to keep it, and it been put into Philadelphia. And that was great to see for me. The project, though, the greatest part about it was about how we all came together and executed the clean out of the basement, with everything being in there, some stuff being rusted and rotted, old tools. We put most of the tools upstairs, but just us coming together to clean that basement out, it for me brought a element of camaraderie to the HEC that everybody was able to leave with and feel inspired by, to continue to do this work even more and increase it. Just us completing the project as a team, we went back the next day on Sunday and cleaned it out completely. and even scrape the floors to get it, ready to be epoxied or whatever, So now the basement is completely cleaned out, and just that opportunity for, I think it was about at least 10 brothers, working together as the sisters were sorting out the different artifacts to get that basement cleaned out. And the spirit of collectivism and working together is something that we can root upon to really understand there's one God, one aim, and one destiny, and what that truly means. So to see us working together to get that project done, I just know it lifted so many spirits, and I'm just appreciative to be a part of it, and looking forward to us getting our own building here in Atlanta, and what all we can do to be able to set our foundation. And that's what I really wanted to touch on.
Thank you, First Vice President Brother Macias, for attending High Executive Council. And go ahead.
As far as the pictures, I should have those ready as soon as possible. I can share the raw footage, but plans to do something special, create a nice video for everybody to have as a keepsake for HEC as well.
No problem. Yes. In my opinion, take your time, but I know others are probably excited. But yeah, First Vice President, very important comments in regards to camaraderie. One, those that have been to High Executive Council or convention know how these things can be. Well, I think anybody that's been in any, well, I don't know how many there are, Black organization that has democratic parliamentary type processes where we come together, we sit down, we try to be disciplined and fair, and we bring up issues and we try to discuss them fairly. They can be difficult, and it can, bring out the differences in one another more than the commonalities. So, to First Vice President's comment, we probably should have started with the cleanup, but we ended with the cleanup. But it ended well. It brought all of us back together, brought the priorities back in line. It's not about any particular division. It's about the UNIA-ACL as a whole. And as of right now, one thing I told Philadelphia, they are the face of the organization right now. They are the only people that have a building. So what happens with that building and the condition of that building represents all of us, no matter where we are. So I thought that was very important. And yeah, as he said, bringing that energy back here, I think is important. And that's why I kind of touched on Black Cross Nurses, the Legion. But First Vice President and myself were talking about headquarters, having a place that we could all kind of go to contribute to the development of the building and benefit from it. But we'll have more on that next month. But for now, I do, but yeah, I'll stop there. Is there any other questions, comments in regards to High Executive Council? Okay. All right. So we'll talk about that more. Well, the executives will talk about that next month, next week, actually. But we'll go along. Let me see. Do I have anything? I'll come back at the end. I feel like I've been speaking a lot right now. So we'll go to our First Lady Vice President, Sister Tania. Did you have anything that you wanted to share? From an organizational standpoint?
Not really, but okay. It seemed like it was productive, like the meeting was productive from what I heard. The only thing I heard that I didn't like was the part about we being more African than Africans. I think that was very disrespectful. Whoever said that, that's different disrespectful. That'll be like, with these men walking around, they go put on some women clothes and say, I'm more woman than you. Or a woman put on man, I'm more manly than you because I'm doing this. It doesn't change who you are just because you do something that someone else is doing or what you think that they should be doing. You know, that to me, that was highly disrespectful. But I mean, that's the only thing I heard, but that's it.
Thank you, First Lady, Vice President. Yeah, let's see, I'm not going to get into that comment, but in regards to the meeting itself, it was primarily the reports. No constitution resolutions were presented, so just reports and finances. We're talking about how much we have and how much they want to spend on the building. But thank you, First Lady, Vice President.
Vice first.
Macias spoke. President Ross Marvin, did you have anything that you wanted to share from a treasurer standpoint?
Greetings, President John, and greetings, family. Thank you very much, President John and First Vice President Brother Macias, for representing our division at the HEC. I found the report on the HEC was very informative. And also, thanks for the topic for today, Dr. Julius Nyerere and Attorney Kibalan, for reading the information on Dr. Julius Nyerere and sharing about the OAU. And there was two groups, the Monrovia group and the Casablanca group. So thanks for all of that information. I just had a question on how was it, two questions. So number one, how did Atlanta get selected for the HEC next year? And the second question is, what is the current balance in our parent body account?
Okay. Our first question, how did Atlanta get selected? Basically, no other division was willing to volunteer. So I feel that the other divisions, I don't know if they're not ready, not prepared, don't want to do it, but they just feel that it's Atlanta's turn. So in order to continue the tradition of High Executive Council, I didn't want to say that we couldn't do it. So I accepted that responsibility. That's how we got it. But yeah, there was no other division that volunteered. So we were the only hat in the bucket. And parent body account, killing me, President Ross. You know that there is, so you only want parent body, you don't want African Redemption Fund?
No, whatever you want to share.
Let's see.
You made the statement that our account.
You went on mute.
Account, according to the Assistant President General, is the highest that he ever seen.
Yes.
Right. So I remember when a few years back, it was 24,000 that we had in the parent body account. So I was just trying to see where it is compared to that time. Where is it today if it's the highest that he's ever seen?
Parent body account right now is at 35,000.
35,000? Okay, give thanks. We're getting back to where it was in the 50s. It was in the 50,000, 1950s. So we're not too far from that.
We're getting there.
give thanks. That's all I had.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, President Rossmower.
Grace first.
First. I thought I was going to ask you something else. Okay. Attorney Emo, let me see. Attorney Emo, is there anything that you wanted to share?
No, not at this time.
All right, thank you.
President
Brother
John.
Andrew, Macy's first vice president.
I wanted to share one last thing. I also had an opportunity to go to a ball, I guess a ball last night in New York with the parent body, and they put together a fundraiser to raise money for the building. And one thing that they said at the HEC, I believe, is that the turnout was at least about 50 people, I believe, maybe more. But one of the points that they made is that it's the food. You know, they always have food,
Right.
and people come out
Right.
for food. So and just going to that event last night definitely allowed me to be able to see the function of the event, and hopefully we can bring those to the division and start, utilizing that model as well, and start, having successful events where, we raise funds and membership at the same time.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, First Vice President Macias. Yes, that was mentioned, and it was good for you to see it in action. Do you know if it was catered by Jamaica Breeze?
Yeah, you know it, Jamaica Breeze. So that's one of the benefits that they have as a division, is that President General has a restaurant there.
Yes.
So we need some restaurant owners in the division.
Understand. So that's something we need to look into. Restaurant owners, or at least catering services. But yeah, if we can get owners to become members, that would be best. But yeah, to First Vice President's point, as we move forward with events, we want to be able to, have food. That seems to be a good way of promoting the events and getting people to come out to the events is having food there per our parent body and High Executive Council. It seems to work. So thank you, First Vice President. Assistant Treasurer, Brother Andrew, are you there? Brother Andrew. Okay, we'll go over to UNIA member 172 in Brooklyn.
In New York. Yes.
Brother Andrew?
Yes, greetings. I just was walking in the street here, so there's some background noise.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
All right, no problem. But greetings, thanks for the acknowledgement. Greetings, everybody on the board.
Thank you, Brother Andrew. Thanks for being here with us.
No problem at all.
We'll go to Dr. Shams, UNIA 172. Greetings, Dr. Shams.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Yes, I really enjoy the writing, and I enjoy the readings that we've been doing. It shows how much we need information from our past in order to move forward, but because of Caucasians not liking us, period, they're trying to cut out our history altogether, but yet keep the Jewish counterpart of them, the Holocaust, intact. And as we know, it's just not fair. It's Dred Scott move again. But no, we could see for the readers how valuable our past is. What our ancestors left was a blueprint of how we could go forward. And the critical race theory is all a part of that as well. because other moves have been made, and I see, you know, in the news that the misnomers that they give us, some sisters speak up against things like Aunt Jemima, and they try to get that eradicated, and tearing down the statues of the racist conquerors who took over the Americas from us and so forth, you know. But we can only be as victorious as we can learn to be, and we can learn or get to know to be. And that is the value, that is the importance of keeping our past together despite anybody who wants to block it, ban it, or whatever. We have to speak up, and we should be more proactive. We should also get our word out as best as possible. Race first.
Very true, Dr. Sham.
President John, I'm sorry, Brother Mason, one more time.
Go ahead, First Vice President.
To his point, and also to one more point about HEC, we did have also the graduation for the course of African philosophy at HEC as well. So, you know, we had 2 graduates, you know, and I think there's another course starting soon. And I'm not sure, you can confirm that, President John. But it's definitely important for all of our officers to be in this course, go through this course. It was great to see the graduation, great to see the 2 graduates, the late president from Philadelphia and the president from Baltimore. It's a course definitely of endurance, but we must endure through this course so we can, like Dr. Shem just said, we have to learn how to operate out here. And the course of African philosophy lays down that. And we definitely want to commit, you know, to all of our officers, go to this next class and endure our way through it.
Thank you, First Vice President. Yeah, doing the reports and trying to make sure I relay all of the information to the members. Sometimes I forget about the things that I had to do myself. And when I'm up there speaking, I can't take notes. So if I don't have notes, sometimes I forget that it happened. But First Vice President is absolutely correct. On Friday evening, we had an award ceremony at High Executive Council. Division 421, with our training course, Course of African Philosophy, we started this in September of last year, and it went all the way through February of this year. We were asked to do an award ceremony for the individuals that completed the course. So, as I said, it started September, ended in February. We had a 4-hour exam that we did in, I think, March. And 2 people were able to complete it in the time that was allotted for this year, I guess. We'll start it up at some point. We'll start it up again, and of course it'll be ready. We'll have graduation again next year here in Atlanta. But yes, but as Brother Macias said, 2 graduates, Sister Kay, Lady President from Philadelphia, and Brother Everett Winchester, President of Baltimore, completed the course. Brother Everett, he received what I'm calling the Charles L. James Award for the highest score, but he had a 98% proficiency. The exam consisted of 260 questions, but those 2 individuals did very well. And as Brother Macias alluded to, as President General said, the next generation is not equipped. You know, so when we look at the toolbox that we have of information that we can provide to the next generation to make sure they are equipped. Me personally, I feel that the Message to the People course of African philosophy, that'll be, you know, what I think, you know, we should know and we should learn. Obviously, there's other information, but as far as priorities, that'll be our focus outside of the Constitution. So thank you, First Vice President. And yeah, we'll start it again. It'll probably be the same type of schedule. Start after Marcus Garvey Day, because right now things are heating up. You know, we're at the end of April. Things are about to start happening very, very quickly. May is next week. In May, we have African Liberation Day, Malcolm X Day. June, we'll have a Juneteenth. That'll be a parade. I actually want to get with our executives, and I would like to do an orientation course the week after the Juneteenth parade. We could come out for the Juneteenth parade, have propaganda, have flyers, hand that out to the people during the parade, and then have an in-person orientation the following week. I think that could be a good way to increase membership. And of course, we would have to have food, or want to have food at that event. But that's May, June, July. We don't have a lot on the calendar, but July. But we do have August right around that corner from July. Marcus Garvey Day Convention, International African Independence Day. So things are we're gonna be very busy very quickly, and I really don't want to start anything like that until September after Marcus Garvey Day. So, but I do. Sister Tania has gone through the course. Obviously, President Ross Marvin has instructed the course. So they know the information. But all of our other officers, and we'll have elections this coming June or July. So new officers as well. This would be priority information that I would expect officers to know, as I said, other than the Constitution itself. So, any questions or comments in regards to what I said? I've talked for a while. Okay, so we'll keep it moving. We heard from Dr. Shams. I think that's almost everyone. Brother Art, greetings, Brother Art. How you doing?
Greetings, family.
Oh, Sister Mary, I didn't forget about you on the conference line either. Go ahead, Brother Art.
Yeah, I think this was a very educational meeting. I learned a lot, and I'm looking up some of the references you guys gave me. That's about all I have right now. Thank you.
No problem. If you got any questions or anything, feel free to reach out. My phone number, you can reach me at 678-631-9404.
678. Okay. 631.
9404.
9404. All right. Thank you, brother.
And Sister Mary, my apologies. I didn't have the conference line members up on my screen.
Greetings. I don't have anything to say. Just appreciate the information. Very informative. Race first.
Race first. Thank you for calling in, Sister Mary. Looks like we got another caller on the conference line. Okolo?
Okolo 421, Atlanta, Georgia. Greetings, family. Race first.
Greetings, Sister Okolo. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I hope everybody else is. I was wondering, you were saying something about April. I mean, we only got one more week left. I quite didn't understand it. I was fixing dinner.
Well, the comment was we've gone over quite a bit of information tonight. We were recapping High Executive Council, which is our second largest meeting of the government. It happens once a year. So I was giving a recap of that, and in that, we were giving plans for next year, starting plans for later this year to start our training course again. But I was letting our members and officers know that I didn't want to start the training right now. because we've got a lot of events coming up in April. This is April. We got some events coming up in May. We've got some events coming up in June. We've got a small break in July, but then we've got a lot of events in August. So I really wouldn't want to do anything until September, because summertime is upon us, and this is when Black organizations are the most active, and when we should be the most active, not only in hosting our own events, but in supporting other events. So I don't think it's good, to do a study group right now.
All right, I got that straight.
And I'm like I said, let me clarify that, because we are still doing our Tuesday study groups. So this coming Tuesday, we will be continuing our Division 421 study group. As far as what we're going to be studying, we could probably, I think we've talked a lot about philosophies and opinions, and I've been putting other things in front of it. So now that we've got some time, we'll go into philosophies and opinions starting this coming Tuesday.
Okay, and that's Tuesday at what time again now?
Let me look at I gotta find out. I got so many meetings. I think it's, give me a second. Everybody should know this off the top of their head. 8 p.m., 8 to 9:30 p.m. is when we have our study groups.
Yeah. Okay, well, like I'm usually cooking Sundays, you have those dinners and whatnot. So this time right here is like what you got here from 5 to 8. I think it blends in with my dinner, and I get my food out, and I got done early, and I said, no, let me check and see if this is not one of the days. And sure enough, it was. But I'm glad I got it in.
Thank you.
I got it in. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
We can. Yeah, that's the time. I'm pretty sure we've had this study group time for a few years. Not to say that it's the best time, but we, if we need to move it or change it, something we can discuss.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's cool. That's great. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sister Colo. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I just was checking in and seeing what was what, see if there's going to be any barbecue outings or whatever. But I know summertime is the best time, for, mostly Black people get out around about that time. But yeah, I just have to keep updated on it and see what's going on, So, are y'all going to have anything else again, like at the core of what we had before?
That's what I was just kind of sharing. Like, we haven't discussed it.
September, yeah. Yeah.
No. Before September, June. In June, I'd like to have a meeting where we can come together, and possibly we can do it. I possibly call it an orientation.
Orientation. Oh, okay.
We did an orientation, I think 2019 in September. Had a good turnout, but in my opinion, one thing that I feel that we have to be better at is giving new members a roadmap. What to expect, and what is what's expected of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We haven't had an in-person meeting like that since before COVID, so maybe we can do that this June, following Juneteenth parade.
Oh yeah. After Juneteenth, that sounds great.
Well, thank you, Sister Colo.
All right, thank you, Brother One Race.
Was there anyone else? I do have a couple things that I will share since we got another hour. I'm not going to take a whole hour, but I got a couple things that I will share. Is there anything anybody else wanted to share before I do that? two brief updates. I had a few more, but they weren't positive. They weren't positively reflecting our race, so I'm gonna save it for later. First thing is, I heard about New Black Wall Street, but it's a mall or market on the east side of Atlanta. They were founded in 2021. New Black Wall Street, located in Stonecrest, Georgia, destination for family fun, entertainment, retail, gourmet, grocery shopping, and fine dining. Set among beautifully curated common spaces, 100+ shops, restaurants located inside this new and exciting development. I haven't been there, but heard about it, and it seems like something, race first minded. So those that are in the area or would like to support or check them out, please do.
What is it called again? The Stonecrest Market, Black Wall Street?
New Black Wall Street Market.
Oh, okay.
81.
And it's in Stonecrest.
Yes, it's in Stonecrest, Georgia.
Okay.
For those that are on Zoom, because we have it on Zoom and you're on the conference line, but those that are on Zoom, I'm sharing a video.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
So that's just one thing. Very much supports. Hope they are. We were talking about catering and things. Maybe they could help us out with some of that. And then the other thing that I wanted to share briefly, as I said, I kind of want us to be, not trying to change anything, but I want us to be informative as an organization, as a local government, and I want us to have some sort of structure. And I would advise our officers to look into Atlanta City Council. They have a YouTube page, but they have meetings regularly, very long meetings, 2-3 hours. But from what I've seen in my experience and going to high executive council and convention, there are not a lot of Black government bodies. So when we go to high executive council, that's all Black, and we're doing our thing as a family. Atlanta's not all Black, but it is fairly close. So they do a good job of giving a close representation of I don't even want to say all Black, but a Black government. So I would recommend us look at these videos, understand who these individuals are. They are the policymakers in the city. So even if it's not for understanding of procedures, at least understanding the people and their policies and what their roles and responsibilities are. Atlanta consists of, it's a spread out city consisting of 6 zones. It's at least 6 zones, I think. But we have to understand how, power is distributed throughout the city, the different districts, the different zones, who's in control of what areas and what policies. So that was the only other thing. And it's funny, well, it's not funny, but it's interesting because a city like Atlanta, 500,000 people, in the census, it's a popular city, millions of attracts millions of people, tourism and things like that. But when it comes to government policy, only 568 people subscribe to this type of information. So, it's a small few, it's a remnant, but we have to be politically conscious. That's what I'm trying to state. So that's the only 2 things that I had. The other thing was in regards to the rising crime in the area or in the city. There was but just the rising crime and a call to our brothers to come together, and we have to, whether it's patrols or, but we have to do something, get involved, mentor, but we can't just sit back and be bystanders as the city falls apart. That's the only thing that I wanted to share. Anybody have any comments as we close? Closing comments? Anybody?
Yes, a lot of, we tend to hold out, but it's just like Marcus Garvey said, up you mighty people, mighty, you can accomplish what, if you will, you will, so I admire those words that he said, and it's even true to today, if you really into understanding Marcus Garvey and what he was, like where are our kings and our presidents, and you talk about the political something, but you may need to keep an eye on that as well. But sometimes I've been to city council a couple of times. I never voiced anything, but it's, maybe they got somebody in there that will speak for us. I don't know. But it's just like he said, sometimes you just have to kind of read through the thing or whatever it is, the line or whatever it is, and you'll find him what he said sometimes is kind of, it's not kind of, but it's truth in the measures of what he said, even to this day. So when we do have these conferences, we should keep in mind that it's something, that reason why we want to hold on to that, not only just for the sake of Marcus Garvey, because in Marcus Garvey day, he was a millionaire or something. And so, he had what some of us want today. He had it then, and he was well aware, his scenario of things. When they would hit the streets, it was just like you said, one race, one, and they had their own Wall Street, is the way I understand it. So, but anyway, So when I think of him, I for some reason in the back of my head, I seem to think that we could still have another Wall Street. And it's a deep conversation. I won't go further with it, but I don't see why we can't. But then too, you have to remember how they did. They bombed Move, and they bombed, but Move wasn't really a progression as far as just as big as Wall Street was. But, sometimes I don't know, I don't want to say, because I'm not a politic person, because I know it's short for police. But, sometimes if you do look into politics, it may be an outing there, because, I don't want to talk about reparations or nothing like that. But, for some reason, I still think that we could have another Black Wall Street. That's all I'm going to say. You got to start putting this stuff in focus as far as Marcus Garvey. If you're going to be a Garvey, so those are some of the things he had. They had a Black Wall Street and doing things for our people. They had their own hospital. They had their own, and stuff like that. So I really admired Garvey for that. And just the fact that he was a billionaire in his day, he had a lot of progression until he had a snitch there. he had a trader there. So, but, I just don't see why we can't have another Black Wall Street. I guess that's me. I don't think nobody even else gonna comment on it, but that's what his Garvey movement was about, and so if you will it and put it into practice, and you accomplish what your will is. That was his motto, or whatever you call it. And so he focused on that. And when people see that it was growing, more people catered to him. He had over a million. He had some Muslims. He had Malcolm's family. It was a whole bunch of them that had switched over there, But like I said, I don't know. I don't want to have a dream that's deterred where they'll fly over and bomb the place, But that's really what he loved. Most of what I read with him until that trader came, and one of the traders was his very best friend, man, or whatever it was. But for some reason, I still think that we could have a Black Wall Street, but I can't see why not. But that's the chance you have to take, like how they destroyed them, But he never stopped trying. The only thing that stopped him was when he got locked up. So So as far as the politics, we have some people in Congress. This new lady, I don't know, she's married to a white man. It's Judge, whatever her name is. Anybody know her name? But so that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Sister Colo. One comment I'll add: Garvey never stopped. Even when he was in jail, he was still working, and even when he transitioned, he's still working. One of his famous comments is, "In life, I shall be the same. In death, I shall be a terror to the foes of African liberty." But through us, Garvey is still working today, and Garvey is still alive today. But that was
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And another thing he said, when you speak of him transiting, he said, "Look for me in the whirlwind," because he knew he was coming back.
Yes, ma'am.
But we could really get deep in this thing. But he was one of our great ancestors. So he would want us to focus on some of those things and try to keep that spirit. Like some people try to keep the spirit in Malcolm X, and whatever and so forth. But that Marcus Garvey, yeah, he held a lot of ground when he was here, just like Malcolm did, So, but anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Sister Colo. I think when you started, you were talking about another quote from Garvey. Where's the black man's government?
I believe he had a speech with that too. Yeah, he was saying, where are our kings and queens, our presidents, our within one of his speech that he said, our lead men, our lay men, our presidents, our stuff like that, our heads of state. In other words, where are our kings and queens, the people that govern us? So he even had the eye where he knew that the system that he had wasn't just consisted of the black people in his community. So I figured he probably thought he would just be the president of the UNIA itself, and when he was president of that. So, but it was kind of like a wake-up call because some people at that time, like I said, those that were with him, they were seeing things as they were. But and it never stops. I can't think of this new judge that they got now. And she's married to a white man.
Ketanji Brown.
Nobody there. Yeah, that's her name. That's the name right there. But those are some of the things that he was trying to tell us.
Yes.
Talk to us to keep that spirit. Because one thing about it, you can't always. I'm not going to start talking about the judges, but I do think it was the time to get a black judge, anyway.
Yeah. But yes, I had your quote, the quote, I pulled it up from Garvey. Where's the black man's government? Where's his king and his kingdom? Where's his president, his country, and his ambassador? His army, his navy, his men of big affairs. I could not find them.
That's it.
I declared I would help to make them. Yes, that's a famous quote from Garvey, another one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's one of his speech quotes. Yeah, it is.
In modern, but today we still say the same thing, but at High Executive Council, the question was asked. It was similar. Oh man, I just had it, but. Brother, First Vice President mentioned the Black House. That's one thing. Where's the basically our internet?
Instead of the White House.
But where is
Yeah.
the black man's headquarters? National headquarters.
Right.
Where is our the black airline? But these things we still have to create today. That's what I was trying to say.
Right. And I think that with that he laid the platform, because would nobody even he was a little bit before his time, because would nobody even thinking about that at that time. They was too busy trying to beg or get this and that, and but he was a little bit before his time, so he had set the platform, and I'm sure he wanted us to keep that spirit going, because it was a focus, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to try to help yourself sometimes, And I think he, like I said, it was a lot of Muslims that became Garveyites, so, and then they kind of separated and went their own way after he had, went to prison. But that was some of the things that he, Malcolm's family, they were Garveys. And I think his father did. Yeah. Yeah. So, he was a little bit before his time, but he was speaking before his time in order so people could set a pattern to try to think, And then, well, I think he did something, because Black Wall Street, they were doing pretty good. They were progressing pretty good. I think he had a visit. I had read some of the literature on it, and he had went through Black Wall Street, but I don't remember all of it. But I think he laid the format for some of what Black Wall Street was going through, because they had hospitals, they had their own stuff, and they were doing quite well. They had cars, and stuff like that, schools and stuff, So I think the Black Wall Street people, I'm trying to think of the name people, but it was quite a few of them that had businesses, and I think he gave them a little bit of focus, but they were just trying on their own to do whatever, but they had progression, but so, and even now it's a lot of people want separation to a certain degree now, so to a certain degree, so if he was a little bit before his time, like Malcolm, so, and like I said, I think he had some background with the way Malcolm's family thought, they was Garveyites, and that's one thing that Malcolm always said, freedom, any needs necessary or whatever, and so, it's what Marcus put down, Garvey put down, is even true to today. That's all I'm saying, So, but I do think he was a little bit before his time, because who would even think of where's our back those times? So he was a wake up kind of a person, and he was a little bit before his time, and he's saying things, and for him to be a millionaire, billionaire back here, can you know how many followers he had? At one time, they did know that, nobody can stress as much as what Marcus Garvey was about, and he even knew that he would be, coming back. And, he lived in Malcolm, and he lived in few other people, so, but, that was Marcus Garvey, yeah. And there was a lot of Garvey nights. Especially, it was a lot of Garvey nights in that Black Wall Street. There was a lot of them in that. But yeah, it's that made sense. That last quote or whatever he did. So.
Go ahead.
No, I'm done. I just you have to. I can't speak for nobody else, but when you talk about Marcus, he highlighted a lot of stuff for us, and you have to highlight what if you're gonna be a Garvey night or whatever it is, you gotta follow the same kind of footsteps that he had, or what he envisioned, because you don't want to go backwards. You want to, if you move however that go, if you don't look ahead, you're gonna go back the same way or whatever it is. So, you know, I'm getting that way today because a lot of people really want separation. You know, that might be too deep of a situation, but he went ahead and he made the dream with the Black Wall Street. You know, they were some of his followers, and he had so many followers himself. He had a boat. He had several boats that went back to the motherland, back and forth. And, you know, so, but they still, you know, it was progressing for a minute there at the Black Wall Street. And he was, some of them had listened to him, you know, so that's why I just try to keep focused and keep, for him to have been a millionaire at that time, y'all can imagine how great he must have been, because a lot of people wouldn't, you know, if they weren't up under him, they wouldn't be thinking, where are so and so, where, you know, that was kind of like a wake-up call for that thing. That's all I'm saying. But you know, that's all I'm trying to say. You know, so.
Ashe.
Yeah.
We were getting ready to move to close. Was there any other members that did not get a chance to share that would like to share? Is there anyone that would like to share before we move to close? Okay, we will prepare to close out. Part of our new closing out tradition is part of our new opening up tradition. I want to share the preamble of the UNIA-ACL Constitution. So we'll do this in the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting. The disclaimer, you know, to let people know who we are and what we're about. Preamble. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society. It is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man. But with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of men shall be called blessed. With that, if you want to come off mute, repeat after me. We'll close out. One God.
One God.
One God.
One aim.
One aim.
One destiny.
One destiny.
One destiny.
Africa.
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 For the Africans.
Africa.
The Africans.
The Africans.
Africa.
Those at home.
Those at
Those at
home.
home.
Those at home.
And those abroad.
And those abroad.
Those abroad.
Great first, family.
Great first.
Race first.
Study group Tuesday at 8 p.m. See everybody there.